Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Psych 5 Personal and Social Awareness. This is your instructor, David. And for this week, we are going to talk about something about death and loss. And we have talked about something that is more positive, like love, relationships, work, and also sex and gender and other stuff. And for this week, we are going to talk about majorly about death. And we are going to see what the people who are going to die, what do they experience, and how do they deal with this fact. And also, we are going to talk about the people around them, how they deal with the fact that the significant others are going to die in the future, in the near future. So death is a topic that we cannot escape from, and we cannot ignore the existence of death. So we know that everyone will die in the future someday. So that's nature. I think it's very natural that everyone's life has a limitation. We cannot live forever. So that anyone or any animal and any plant. So every thing that is living is going to disappear, is going to no longer living in the future. So for this week, we're going to talk about how to deal with that psychologically and socially and through other aspects. So before talking about death and loss, I want to share you with a story that I heard from the Isaac Asimov's fiction. So Isaac Asimov is a very famous and popular and successful writer for the sci-fi, so scientific fantasy fiction. So he has written a lot of really famous work about scientific fantasy. And I heard one story from his fiction. I don't remember what book that story is from, but that story is very impressive to me. So in that story, a man a man's body is accidentally destroyed, and in real life, if somebody's body is destroyed accidentally, it means that that person will die, or the person is dead, because the physical body is gone. However, that's Asimov's fiction, so that man's physical body is dead, but somehow his mind is uploaded to the internet. So that's very interesting setting. So that man's mind is intact, is not dead, and the mind is uploaded to the internet, and the physical body is dead. So in this very interesting situation, that man lives forever and never dies. So his spirit, his mind, never dies, and he's living forever on the internet. And it turns out that he can go anywhere in the internet, and the internet is expanding all the time, and all kinds of information is uploaded to the internet every day, every moment, every second. So he can explore everything on the internet, and he can be everywhere. on the internet, and he can control everything on the internet. So internet becomes himself. And later he was not happy about that fact, but he later found that time became meaningless for him because he never died. He never dies. So time is nothing for him. So he can do whatever he wants to do forever. So what changes occur to him under this setting? And there are some examples of his changes. Because his physical body is gone and he lives forever on the internet in terms of his spirit and mind. So sometimes he says some sentences that are really, really long. So in everyday life, in reality, we must stop the sentence. We must say some kind of short sentences in our oral communication because we need to breathe. So we have the limitation in our physical body. We need to breathe. We cannot say something for a very, very long time, like 5 minutes. We cannot keep saying something for 5 minutes without breathing. So the length of every sentence that we say is very limited because we need to breathe. When we say one sentence, we can only breathe for only once, basically, right? So we can not really create a sentence when we are saying it for a sentence. We cannot say a sentence that is very, very, very long, like the sentences in some kind of academic papers or in some kind of philosophy books. So if you read some philosophy books, you can find that some of the sentences in the main text can be very long. Some of the sentences can be as long as a paragraph. It means that in one paragraph, there is only one sentence. That's the style of the philosophers writing. So in reality, we cannot see very, very long sentences. We just have short sentences. But this guy will have some sentences that are really, really, really long, and they become longer and longer because he doesn't have to breathe, and he has no limitations for time, so he can say something forever. That's definitely that's a waste of time, but for him it's not. Time is for him is meaningless because he never dies. And also, he never finished a activity because he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to stop some activity and do some other activities. It doesn't have to save time because he has as much time as he wants. So that's very interesting changes occur to him. So the reason for I share this story in this week is because I want you to see if somebody never dies, what happened to them. Because that on the other hand, it implies us that because we have a limited time for living in this world, so that we need to save time. We need to have some kind of strategies to achieve as many as possible within a time limit, within a the constraints of time and energy. So in our life, we have a limited time. We have a limited energy. We do not have a lot of attention and time and energy to do everything like we want to do. Therefore, we need to be strategic. We need to take some kind of strategies to achieve something within a specific time limit. So we need to save time strategically. And that brings challenges, but that also brings fun to our life. So imagine that if we live forever, we do not have to save time. We can just do something forever, and we never finish a activity, and we never have to say short sentences to save time. We can use very, very long sentences to provide to convey really simple information to other people with our time, with other people's time. But because in reality our time is limited, we do not have a endless longevity. So we need to save our time, and we need to be strategic to live our life better, to live a well life. So and also that's probably the meaning of death for us, because we know that there is death in the future for every one of us. So that we need to think it carefully and be strategic to have a good life. That's the implications I can find from these stories, and you can think of what implications can you find from this story. And the first topic that we talk about for this week is dying, and we can go over the stages of dying for the people who are going to die in the near future, and how they can cope with this fact, how they can cope with death. So based on the introduction of the textbook, there are 5 stages of the dying process. So the scholar, the researcher Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, in 1975, introduced the 5 stages of death in her book, Death, the Final Stage of Growth. And what the first stage of the 5 stages for the people who are dying, for the people who know they are going to die very soon, the first reaction of them is denial. So they deny the fact that they are going to die very soon. That's a very normal reaction because nobody wants to die. So when they know that they are going to die, they do not want to accept the fact because that's against their will. In their willingness, they want to live forever. They do not want to die very soon. So the first reaction, first stage of dying is denial. And later they found that they can deny this fact because they know that everybody will go to this step of dying. And they cannot deny this fact because they know that their physicality is becoming worse and worse, and their physical condition is becoming worse, so that they know that they will die very soon. So that, but they still do not want to accept the fact. They do not expect this fact. They want to live forever, but the fact is there. And it turns out that there is a really, really strong conflict between the fact and their willingness. It turns out that they are angry about this fact. And this anger, this aggression can be displaced to other people because they do not know where to put this anger. They do not know who they want to be angry at, right? So there must be some place, there must be some people they can be angry at. There must be some kind of targets. But in this situation, they cannot find any people to blame because that's a natural phenomenon. Everyone will die. And they do not want to be angry at themselves, so they are angry with anybody else around them. They can be angry at everything that they met. So they can be angry towards they can be angry towards anyone around them. So that's the second stage of dying. They can be very moody and easy to get angry toward other people. But the real reason for this anger is that they do not want to accept the fact that they are going to die very soon. And at this stage, that's very important that the people around this person, people around them, allow them to express the anger. If the anger is expressed, anger is vented, they may go to another stage, to a new stage. They may not be angry anymore. And the next stage, denial doesn't work. They found that they must accept the fact. Anger does not work. No matter how angry they are, no matter whom they are angry at, it doesn't work. They are going to die very soon. So denial doesn't work, anger doesn't work. So they go to the third stage. They go to bargain with somebody. They bargain with some kind of a supernatural spiritual being like a God. So they bargain with God or some other kind of spiritual figures to see if that works. Specifically, they want to exchange something they have for more time to live. So they want to give something that they have to the nature, to the spiritual, supernatural spiritual being, and they can get some time. They can get more time to have a longer life. So that's the stage of bargaining. So they want to really, in their mind, to bargain with somebody so that they can live longer, to see if that works. And the next stage, they go to depression. They are really depressed. They found that all of these strategies do not work. Denial doesn't work. Anger doesn't work. Bargaining doesn't work either. And turns out they do not really want to accept that they are going to die soon. So they are depressed. Depression emerges because somebody cannot express the negative feelings, the negative emotions. Therefore, the negative feelings, negative emotions are stored in their mind. Especially this kind of negative emotions, negative feelings go to their unconsciousness. So that's why somebody is depressed. So we can know about this knowledge in the Psych 1 class when we talk about clinical psychology, and one of the disorders is depression disorder. Some people are like really, really depressed for a very long time. That's because they cannot vent the anger or vent the negative emotions. And so that their negative emotions are stored in their own mind. They cannot get rid of them. And also another perspective explains why people are depressed. That perspective tells us that we have anger, we have aggression. That's our nature. So our nature includes aggression. Sometimes people are really aggressive because of the nature. So why they are aggressive? Why some other people are not aggressive? Because aggression comes from our life, comes from the emotional original energy that every life has. So every life has a energy, has the energy to be alive. So that original energy sometimes becomes creativity, sometimes becomes something positive, like persistence. Some people are really persistent because they can transfer this original energy to persistence. And some people are really creative. That's because they can transfer the original energy to be creativity. So they are really alive, really creative. They are really thinking about original ideas. But sometimes when our hope cannot be reached, when something is not consistent with our expectations, we feel anger. We are really angry. We want to express aggression because this time when our expectations cannot be met, the original energy becomes aggression. So we want to attack. We want to destroy. We want to destroy some other people who stop us. We want to destroy something that stop us because we really want that. We really want our expectations to happen, right? So if something is not expected, we are really angry. We want to attack. We are really aggressive. But sometimes the angry people, the aggressive people, found that the aggression, the anger, don't work. No matter how angry you are, no matter how aggressive you are, that is going to happen. In this case, no matter how angry you are, no matter how aggressive you are, the death in the future is going to happen. That's really, really sure. That's really, really for sure. That's really certain. And turns out that aggression does not target the other people anymore, but that aggression targets themselves. So the direction of aggression changes to themselves. So anger and depression are like they are actually from the same source. Anger is the situation where people are aggressive toward other people, but depression is the situation where people are aggressive toward themselves. They blame themselves. They criticize themselves so that they are depressed. So how to solve this negative emotion? How to be less depressed? It's really important that this person can express the sadness, can express the negative emotions, can express the anger. So when they can express the negative emotions, they are less depressed because this aggression is expressed. When aggression found that when aggression finds that aggression is allowed, when anger finds that this anger is allowed, there can be less anger, there can be less aggression. So depression can be depressed. So going through all these stages of dying, going through the denial, anger, bargaining, and depression, finally, they can accept the reality that they are going to die in the near future. So all these 4 stages before acceptance, why they go through these 4 stages? Because they do not accept the reality. If somebody accepts the reality that that person is going to die very soon, that person does not have to go through the 4 stages like denial, anger, bargaining, and depression. All these 4 stages happen because of the person cannot accept the reality. So the final stage of dying is that finally this person accepts that he or she is going to die very soon. So these are 5 stages of dying. The next topic is, how do the people deal with this fact? How do people deal with the fact that they're going to die very soon? There are 2 strategies, 2 approaches to explain how people cope with this fact. The first strategy is called a task-based model, developed by Core in 1992. So in this model, there are 4 main tasks to deal with, 4 main tasks to finish in coping with dying. So the first task is physical tasks. First kind of task is physical tasks. That means that the dying people need to cope with the undesired physical conditions because they have diseases, they have some health problems that they suffer from for a very long time. They found that their physical condition is becoming worse and worse these days and currently, so that they realize that they are going to die. So they need to cope with this discomfort and this undesired physical conditions. And the second task that they need to deal with, they need to finish, is psychological tasks. So they need to still maintain a psychological health. They need to maintain the mental health. They need to have a sense of autonomy still. Even though people are dying soon, but they still want to have autonomy. They still want to have a sense of autonomy. That autonomy is something that every person needs for every moment. And also they need to have a sense of security and other needs. Also, they need to satisfy, even though they are going to die very soon. And the third task that they deal with is social tasks. So they need to still maintain the interpersonal relationships with others. They need to sustain the interpersonal attachments with other people. And the last type of task is spiritual tasks, because they know that they are going to die very soon. So they go over their entire lives. They also consider their meanings of life. So what do they bring to the society, to their own life, to other people? So they need to think about the meaning of life. And also in the chapter that talk about developmental psychology, at the final stage of Erikson's social cycle development stages, the last stage of the 8 stages of his theory, and the people need to finish the task to have a sense of meaning in life. Otherwise, they will be disappointed by themselves. So here it's the same thing. So when people are going to die, they need to think about what the meaning is in their life. And also they need to deal with the fear of death, because they will have fear. So everyone will have a fear of death, especially for the people who are going to die very soon. So the fear of death is very, very strong for them. No matter how brave this person is, no matter how no matter how brave this person is in everyday life, this person will have the really strong fear of death at the final stage of their life. So that's the spiritual task that they need to deal with. They need to make sense of their entire life. So these are 4 main tasks that the dying people need to deal with. And the second approach to cope with dying is a relational model. In this model, the basic assumption is that every person is born in relationships. When people are born, they have parents, they have siblings, they have other people around them. And also, people are dying in all relationships also. And even though the physical body of that person is going to die, or the physical body of that person is gone sometime in the future, but this person is still living in other people's memory, because every person has a network of relationships, and other people are also in that network of relationships. So everyone forms a network of social networks or social relationships. So one person does not exist anymore, but other people will remember that person, will recall that person's stories and recall that the person's faces and so forth. So that person is still living in other people's memories and still living in other people's conversations, because people talk about that person who passed away. And from this sense, that person is still living. That person's physical body passed away, but that person's spirit, that person's image are still living in other people's memory, are still living in this society. Yeah, so right now I have a story about this to illustrate this phenomenon. So that's the stories happened last week. Actually, we know that there is on last Tuesday there was election day, president election day, and it turns out that Arizona for this year, for this time, turns blue. So it means that there are more votes to vote for Biden, vote for the Democratic Party. And but in history, Arizona used to be a red state. That means that the majority of people will vote for Republicans, will vote for the Republican candidates. But this time, it turns blue. It turns they like Democratic more. So relatively. So why that happened? One of the reasons, one of the explanations for why that happened is because there is a very important person whose name is McCain. McCain has passed away in 2018 already, so he has passed away for 2 years. But he is still influential in Arizona. He was very respected Senate and he was Republican, but he was a Republican Senate, but he was against Trump, right? So when he was alive, he was really against Trump, and Trump did not like McCain at all. And McCain, when he was alive, supported the Democratic, not the Republican. So because he was against Trump, and turned out that because of his influence, there are more people who voted for the Democratic. So as a result, in overall, the Arizona, the entire state tends to goes to blue, yeah, instead of red, goes to support the Biden instead of Trump because of his influence. So so I think this is a story that the physical body has passed away. The physical body of McCain has passed away, but his influence is still there. He is still living in people's memory. Yeah, so there are like two approaches to cope with that death. One is task-based model, and the other is relational model. And the next topic, I want to talk about two things. One is grief or bereavement. The other is mourning. So grief or bereavement is the exploration, the personal exploration of the feelings and the thoughts and the emotions because of a significant loss. So this significant loss may be a death of the significant others, maybe a death of a pet, or some kind of other kind of loss, or loss of a really important property. People may have a feeling of grief. So when they try to explore what happened in their mind, they try to explore the feelings when they have gone through a significant loss. That kind of a phenomenon is called grief or bereavement. So what happened in the period of grieving or bereavement? They may be really, really sad because they lost something, or they lost some really important people. And also there is a feeling of pain. So you know that the pain, the feeling of pain is our perception. So when our physical body is damaged, we feel the pain on the part that is being damaged. But the pain does not exist in physical world. In physical world, just the loss of human tissues. But our perception, we have a perception of pain. So the pain is formed in our brain. So we get the signal. We know a fact that some people are dying or have died. And then in our brain, we have a feeling of pain. Our brain form a perception of pain. No matter it's physical damage, physical loss, or it's a psychological loss, or it's like a loss in social relationships. No matter what, there's a feeling of pain. That feeling is really real. And also in grief, we do not want to accept the fact that some important people are dying or have died. There can be other feelings as well, like aggression, like anger, like depression. So all these feelings can happen in the period of grieving or bereavement. And another question is this process beneficial? So why do we have this process? Why do we explore the feelings inside of us when some significant people are gone? So why human beings have that kind of a psychological phenomenon? I believe that grief has some kind of a meaning in our life too. the meaning is that it's a process of finding the new meaning in life. Because we need to accept the fact that some important people or some important paths or some important things are gone. And there is a new situation in our life. We need to adapt to the new situation. So we need to find the meaning again in our life. We cannot just stick to the old life. We cannot just stick to the memory. We need to move on. We need to go to a new stage of life. So that's the meaning of grief or bereavement. If there is not sufficient bereavement or grief, we cannot move on. It's really difficult for us to move on without the enough grief. And the second concept that is related to grief is called mourning. Mourning. It's not that morning, it's this morning. So there is kind of different from grief. Grief is an internal exploration of feelings, but mourning is the expression of these feelings. So grief happens in the internal world, and mourning happens in the external world. So expressing it externally to other people, to the society, to yourself. So one typical example of mourning is a funeral. So somebody has died, and the people around him, around her, they are grieving. They are grieving, and they'll hold a funeral for this person. So actually, a funeral is not for. It has nothing to do with this dead person already, because this person has died. But funeral is very meaningful for the people who are still living. So that's the meaning of funeral. So funerals are for living people, because they want to express this really intense sadness or other kind of negative emotions. So they attend the funeral to have the practice of mourning. And the mourning helps us to recover from the sadness, recover from the negative feelings, because we can express these negative feelings to other people or in some kind of rituals. So mourning is also very meaningful for us. So when some significant people are dead, or some really important pets are dead, or we lost something very important, allow us to express ourselves, allow us to attend some kind of rituals like funerals, because that helps us to recover from this fact, recover from this sadness. Otherwise, we cannot move on. So that's the meanings of the mourning and bereavement or grief. And also, what to do during the process of mourning. That there is also 4 tasks for us can do, as recommended in the textbook. So one of the tasks is the acceptance of the reality. So this task is really similar to the 5 stages of dying. So for the people who are going to die, they need to accept the reality. But for the people who significant others have died, they need to also accept the reality. That they need to admit that their significant others have gone. And the second task to mourn is to work through the pain of grief. They need to accept the pain, accept the sadness that comes from the bereavement, from the grief. And the third and the fourth task are about the future. After grieving, after mourning, they need to adjust to a new environment in which this significant other is not there anymore. So they need to adjust themselves to a new environment. And also they need to also find new meaning in life so that they can move on in life. So I also experienced this because my grandma has passed away 3 years ago in 2017. And what is something that I regretted is that I didn't see her at the moment he passed away. So I went back, and she already passed away. So I couldn't see her for the last time. So that's what I really regretted. So I was really sad about it. Because that's my grandma was really important person for me, and she was like I had a really strong emotional attachment with her when I grew up, but I couldn't see her for the last time. And I need to accept this reality, and that was really painful. And the really difficult part is that I cannot imagine that I need to have a life without her. Well, because my grandpa has passed away like 14 years ago, so that's a long time ago. And my grandma 3 years ago was the last person. Like when I went to my grandma's house, and before there were grandpa and grandma. But after 2017, there was no home for grandpa and grandma, so their house was sold. That's something that I was sad about. So there is no place I can go back to see them. So their house is like a home for me, the second home for me. But I cannot go back anymore because they have died. When the people are gone, the home is gone. So I need to adjust to this new environment, to this new social environment that the grandma's home is gone and grandma is gone. So there's no pleasure, there's no intimacy in my life. That's why I thought when my grandma just passed away in 2017. So I need to adjust this. I need to change the thoughts about myself. I need to change the recognition, or change the understandings of my life. I need to have a new understanding of my life. I need to move on. I need to find new meanings in life. The meaning I found is that the passing away of my grandma tells me that I need to be adults. I cannot be children anymore. I'm not a kid. I'm not a child anymore. Because my grandma has passed away, because that's the time is changed, and the people are growing up, and people are growing old, and I'm growing up, and they die, and I grew up. So I need to move on. I need to have new families. That's the meaning that I have for this mourning, for this grief. I need to form new families. I need to have wife. I need to have my own children so that I can have pleasure with my family members, with my kids. So that's the new meaning I can find from this process. Okay, so that's I think this forecast to more to in the mourning process are really reasonable. So I like this idea. Yeah, I think this is all the stuff we have talked about for this week. So I know that there's less stuff for this week, but I think we are good. So there are things to know for this week. First, we need to know the 5 stages of dying. And we need to know the 4 tasks of coping with dying in the task focus model. And we need to understand what grief is. We need to understand what mourning is. And also we need to tell the difference between grief and mourning. So that's all the concepts we need to know. Okay, so let's talk about the journal assignment for this week, Journal 12. So in this journal, you need to answer 2 questions. The first question is somebody important to you, if someone important to you has passed away, please reflect what meaning you can find through his or her death. So someone important to you can be a person or a pet. So it can be your dog who has passed away, or can be your like a grandma or grandpa or anybody that is important to you passed away. Please reflect what meaning you can find through this process. If you have not experienced someone important to you passing away, please imagine that someone important to you has passed away and reflect what meaning you would find through his or her death. So if you have this kind of experience that about somebody is passing away or a pet passing away, you can have a reflection. You can talk about what kind of meaning you can find from this event. If you have not experienced any kind of this kind of experiences, this kind of events, you can imagine that somebody important to you has passed away, and what kind of meaning you would find. So that's for the first question. The second question is, what did you do to help yourself grieve when you have experienced a significant loss? That's a person or a pet that is important to you. So the second question is related to the first question. First question is talking about the meaning that you can find. The second question is, how do you grieve? What do you do to help you grieve? Same rule. So if you do not have such experience yet, please imagine someone important to you has passed away and answer this question. So each of the question is 6 points. Yes. And this is all the stuff for this week, and we can see each other next week. And next week is about the meaning and value. And the next week is also the last lecture for this semester. And in 2 weeks, there will be the week for the Thanksgiving. So in 2 weeks, in 1 week, we'll have the last lecture, and in 2 weeks, we will not have any lectures or any classes for the Thanksgiving week. So have a good week, and bye-bye.